It's a heist. G'day to all you lovely people and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kathy and today we are here to talk about this. Skin Game, book 15 in the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Okay, this is in fact the second time I'm recording this video because I forgot to connect the microphone last time. I hate it when I do that. I also decided to try a different location. Let me know what you think of it. We are now getting close to the end. Book 15, there's only 2 more after this, and then we have to wait for the next one. I hate waiting for books. Anyway, just like all the other reviews, this one will be split into 3, with spoilers, without, and a summary at the end. And when I refer to spoilers, it is only in relation to this book. We are at a point in this series that you simply cannot talk about a book without referencing spoilers from the previous books. So if you have not read books 1 to 14, then you should skip this video until you do. The main plot involves Queen Mab trading Harry's services in payment of a debt to Nicodemus, a denarius. Unsurprisingly, however, Harry is not happy about having to work with Nicodemus, and he tries to squirm his way out of it, but he can't. He is the Winter Knight, and he is unfortunately bound to follow any promises that Queen Mab makes. And if it isn't enough that Harry has to work with Nicodemus, he learns that Nicodemus is scheming to pull off a heist, to rob a vault in the Never Never. And that vault belongs to Hades of the Greek underworld. Okay, I loved that. I thought, really? If you ask me, Nicodemus is the best villain in this entire series. I love his character. He is much more nuanced, more complex and calculating than anyone else that we have come across. I'm always happy to see him in a book because I know that so many things are going to happen which I cannot predict. I haven't said anything so far that isn't already on the back of the book. But Nicodemus is bringing together a group of people to pull off this heist. And we see several characters we have met before and several new ones. Nicodemus has employed Binder, who we met, I think it was in Turncoat. The one with the Cockney accent. That's how I remember him. I always liked his character. I thought he was interesting. And I think we got to learn a lot more about Binder in this book. We also see Michael again and Butters. I love Butters. And Molly and Murphy, of course. Actually, Harry asks Murphy to watch his back and form part of the team that will pull off this heist. Because obviously he doesn't trust Nicodemus as far as he can throw him. Because we all know Nicodemus will betray his own bloody mother if it would suit his purposes. I always felt that anyway. There are also several new characters that we meet. Some I really, really loved actually, like Goodman Gray. He was so cool. I thought so from the beginning. There is also Hannah, I think it is, Usher, a warlock being hunted by the Wardens of the White Council. She is also a part of this team that Nicodemus is gathering together. When we start off the book, Harry is living on Demon Reach, the island. He, I feel, is isolating himself from his friends and loved ones, family, because he feels he is something less now, that perhaps he is no longer a good guy. That was my assessment when I was reading this. It's understandable. Harry has always been a character with great integrity, honour. I also suspect that he feels guilty that Molly is now the Winter Lady, that if it wasn't for him, Molly wouldn't be in Queen Mab's clutches. Now, Harry knows very well that Nicodemus will betray him at some point, but he is under a vow or promise that he has to fulfill before he can do anything really to protect himself. So he plans in advance. He has this hole up his sleeve, which he mentions very early on in the book, and he tells no one about. And because he does get, God, so badly injured in this book, like he does in most of them, he goes to Butters for help. But Butters is concerned that Harry is perhaps no longer on the side of the angels. And because of this, Butters becomes involved. I can't tell you how because that would be a major spoiler, but I'll leave it at that. Now I'm going to go through what I liked and what I didn't like, and I will confess there was not much I didn't like, really. There was so few things. The one thing that I hated, I will have to tell you in the spoiler section. I will confess that at the beginning, I really didn't like the idea that Harry was going to be working with Nicodemus. Nicodemus is a monster, a ruthless sociopath, if you ask me. I just hated this whole idea of this heroic Harry Dresden, because I still think he is heroic, working in conjunction with such a monster. But I will admit, I found it really cool, really interesting seeing all these characters who would usually be on opposite sides trying to work together. Binder, he seems true to life. Yes, perhaps he is greedy, mercenary, self-serving, but I don't think he is malicious for the sake of it. It is business for him. I find his attitude honest. We may not like what he thinks, what he believes, but you have to respect someone who knows who they are, and that's who he is. The character of Hannah Asher, it was actually good to see what a warlock is like, how they view the world. She seemed confident, had a bit of humour as well. I didn't really get, though, a great grasp of the kind of person she is. As I said earlier, Harry is struggling with feeling he is somehow one of the bad guys now. And he needs comforting, perhaps even reassurance. So he goes to Michael Carpenter, the retired knight. I love this character so much. He's one of the best drawn characters in this series. And Michael puts him straight. Sure, we can be influenced by so many things in our lives, but ultimately, we get to choose. We get to choose what we say, what we do. And I just loved that scene. This is what two really close friends do. They comfort each other. They help each other when they need it, when they can't see straight for whatever reason. One of my favourite parts of the book. That I think is all I can say without touching on any spoilers. But before we get into that, I just wanted to say that I found this one of the most satisfying books, despite my initial reservations. So let's jump into the spoilers now. Let's begin with Nicodemus, because he is obviously a central part of this story. He is definitely my favourite antagonist villain. He is so well drawn. He is so complex. I know I've said this before. And I always felt that he outclassed Harry. However, Harry has now had to face Nicodemus several times, and he has grown in power. And that is not even taking into account his winter powers. I think just on his own, Harry has developed so much as a wizard. And that makes their confrontations, I feel, so much more interesting because you don't know what's going to happen. Also, Harry understands Nicodemus better now. I think so anyway. I think he nailed Nicodemus beautifully in this book. I have to talk about what Nicodemus did, right? Sacrificing his own daughter for a greater good. Yeah, right. Bullshit. I call bullshit. No, it is all about power. That seems to be the driving force and ambition that Nicodemus has. He doesn't care about anyone else. I think he only cares about getting as much power as he can, which is one of the reasons he took up the coin, I'd say. But I did find it interesting that near the end he was saying that the fallen angel didn't control him, he controlled them. That's because he is a forceful, formidable personality, clearly. Yeah, not necessarily a good thing, but just how strong-willed would you have to be to control a fallen angel? I'm going to deal with what happened right at the end a bit later. What I wanted to talk about was a few other things that happened. The way Nicodemus manipulated Karen Murphy so that she ended up breaking the sword. Oh my God. Okay, I was just gutted. I have mentioned before, I was convinced that she was going to become a Knight of the Cross. But clearly, she didn't feel she was worthy, and in the end, she used it for the wrong purpose. And the sword was destroyed. Oh, wow. But how well Nicodemus played Karen Murphy. You had to admire it. I hated it, but I had to admire it. I never thought she was that burnt out. I knew she was disappointed, gutted that she could no longer be a police officer. And, you know, I kind of relate to that because it happened to me in my career, I guess. I had to give it up due to my health. It affects you. It affects your self-worth. It makes you feel inadequate, that you can't do this job that you love. So I really related to Karen Murphy, and it kind of broke my heart to see that she felt lost. I thought the sword was perfect for her. This was another way for her to fulfill her duties. And yet, in the end, she didn't think she was worthy. Oh, that scene though was so hard when he not only broke down her spirit, he then broke down her body. Holy shit. Wow, okay, I cried. Yeah, she's a favourite character of mine. I hate seeing her reduced to that. That was just awful, absolutely awful. And it seems like it will have long-term repercussions. Wow, yeah, that broke my heart. Yeah, Karen broke my heart in this. I was just reminded that Karen wasn't alone in losing the sword or using it for the wrong reasons. Harry did the same thing. See, they're a perfect match. That's what I think anyway. But that scene outside the carpenter's house was one of the toughest for me to read. And Butters. Well, I will get to Butters in a minute. I wanted to talk about Michael. Here are our heroes all being held by Nicodemus's team and looking like they might be killed. And then Michael comes out to the gate and offers himself to Nicodemus in exchange for his friends. Holy cow. Wow. Okay, I shed a tear because it reminded me so much of Shiro doing the same for Harry. There's something special about these knights, isn't there? They are so pure in spirit, so selfless, so generous. wow, I was like, no, 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 no. This cannot happen. Michael cannot be put in the hands of Nicodemus. He will kill him for certain. And then Uriel. We have to talk about Uriel. Yeah, these bloody angels. Oh, we can't interfere with free will. Sometimes I'm really ambivalent about the angels. They could make life so much easier for some of our characters. But I guess life isn't meant to be easy, right? Anyway, I loved, though, that Uriel gave his grace to Michael. Oh, because we got to see Michael as a knight again. Oh, I loved that so much. I was really gutted when Michael was so severely injured because I knew he was no longer going to be a knight. So it was wonderful seeing them working together again. I loved that. I don't think we'll be seeing it again, but that was enough for me. Other things I loved. Harry pregnant. Oh my God, okay. I was in stitches over that. I thought that was hysterically funny. Seriously, pregnant. Wow. But this opens the door for something really cool, something new, interesting. Seeing how, for example, a spirit like Bob was created. I'm assuming that that is what's going to happen with this. And what a powerful being. It is partly Harry and partly the shadow of Lucille. I'm really curious to see where that's going to go. Butters. He has come so far as a character. He seemed to have isolated himself when we first met him. He seemed a lonely character who preferred not to deal with people, which is why he was a coroner. And he has progressed so much throughout these books. I really love the development of his character. I love that he has taken on board everything he's learned about the magical world and decided, I want to help. I want to be a part of this. I don't want to, hide anymore. And even though I never thought it would be Butters who was spying on them, it, I guess, was to be expected. He had made it clear that he was suspicious of Harry. He was worried that Harry was going down the wrong path. Butters should have known Harry better, I think, but I guess you worry, right? You have a character who has isolated himself from you on an island that gives everyone else the creeps. In a million years, I would never have guessed that Butters would become a Knight of the Cross. Oh my God. That one left me staggered. I never expected that. I knew after Karen broke the sword that she wasn't going to wield it. I still think that's wrong, but okay, that's just me. But never would I have guessed that Butters would. How cool was that? I loved it. And not just that, it's an actual lightsaber. Oh my God, I love that so much. I'm a big Star Wars geek, okay? So yes, I would do anything to have a real lightsaber. I did read somewhere that some people didn't feel Butters should have been a knight. I thought he has displayed so much courage over the last few books in particular that it's a natural progression. He is a nice guy. He is a decent guy. He always has been. And I know Uriel mentioned that there was a foreshadowing of this when he saved Harry from Cassius. I thought I like it when authors do that, when they tie things back to things that have happened in the past. I did not guess that that monster creature was a fallen angel. It didn't occur to me. Nor did I guess that Hannah was using Lucille's coin. I should have, though. There were hints throughout the book. The way Harry was sexually attracted to Hannah seemed out of character given that he had strong feelings, emotional feelings for Karen. So I thought something's off here. And I know his subconscious warned him that something is off here. So I do feel perhaps I was given enough clues, but it didn't occur to me. Did I like that part? Clearly, the real Lucille, the fallen angel, is very, very different to the shadow that Harry shared his mind with. Clearly, this one is much more vindictive and nasty, definitely. Did I love it? I wanted to see Lucille again, I won't deny it. Part of me is dissatisfied though, the way she was brought back. It seemed a little anticlimactic, to be honest. And I will say this, Hannah deciding she hates Harry because he destroyed the Red Court vampires and the Fellowship of Giles or whatever it is. Yeah, come on. That was just so unnecessary. And that was not convincing at all. And it just seemed like too convenient. I hated that part. But I don't think Hannah's dead, and I don't think Lucille is dead just because everything fell down onto them. I'm sure we're going to see them again. I think it was in this book that Harry finally gets to talk to Maggie. It was touching, I thought anyway, and I didn't think it was too sentimental. There's a few more things I wanted to say and then I'll finish up. Nicodemus is a vindictive bastard. Yeah, he really is ruthless. And I did love the way Harry just pushed Nicodemus's buttons. But just like Michael, I realised Harry had given away that he was clearly a father because he knew what it meant to be a father. So I guess it wasn't surprising that Nicky decided to go and wipe out the Carpenter household, including Maggie. Bastard. Yeah, that really bothered me actually. I just thought, wow, this guy is so vicious. And I don't know about you guys, but it so bothers me that angels protect the Carpenter household and yet cannot stop bullets, cannot stop people. What's the point of having that protection if Nicky can just send all these goons to go and kill them all by shooting them? But how much did I love it that little Butters, because he is little, almost killed Nicodemus. Holy cow. I just loved that. It doesn't matter what size you are, does it? What matters is how strong your spirit is, your character is. And Butters is clearly much stronger than we ever gave him credit for. But also I think he has grown. And I love seeing characters grow throughout a series, not remain the same, because that is unrealistic. We generally do change, most of us anyway. But Nicodemus fleeing, yeah, I love that. Yeah, fleeing from Butters. The other thing I wanted to mention was Mab working in concert with Marconi, and that this was actually a setup to punish Nicodemus. I don't know if they really succeeded. How much did they really accomplish? And I would have thought Marconi, who is so quick to defend any slight to his honour as he sees it, would have preferred to stick a knife in Nicodemus rather than, allowing him to damage his vault. Clearly, it's not just about punishing Nicodemus. It was also about Harry retrieving those religious artifacts. But let's not forget, Nicodemus now has the Grail, the Holy Grail. I am curious to find out just what he is going to do with that. We're obviously heading towards the final confrontation, I guess. And all these incidences, events that have taken place in the books are going to come to fruition in the final book, or books. I guess. I just can't see the connection just now. Whilst I tried to guess what ace Harry had up his sleeve, I was just as shocked as Nicodemus that Goodman Gray was in Harry's pay. That never occurred to me. They did a good job of pretending they hated each other throughout most of the book. I love it though when the author can do that, and I thought he did a good job laying the groundwork without it being too obvious. But I really loved that scene, that whole scene where Nicodemus was like, it's not just me, there is also this other fallen, and there's also Lucille. And then Harry is like, it's not just me, it's also Goodman Gray working on my behalf. Yeah, I thought that was a really cool scene, actually. And I also loved the conversation that Harry had with Hades. That was cool. Something else I really loved was Nicodemus's conversation with Uriel. That was very well done, very well written. Frustrating as all hell too, isn't it? To know that they cannot intervene. And finally, Harry and Murphy acknowledge their feelings, acknowledge that they love each other. Goddamn finally. Except now, poor Karen is so bloody injured that she can barely do anything. I hated that. But it's also, I guess, a reminder just what effect magic does have on regular people who aren't supernatural, who aren't wizards. They are the ones who suffer the most, aren't they? People like Karen, like Michael. And I guess that is ultimately what Harry is fighting for, what Michael is fighting for, what Butters will now be fighting for, and that is to protect normal people who can't protect themselves against these monsters. Because Nicodemus is a monster. If he wasn't supernatural, we would probably call him a serial killer. That's what I think anyway. Okay, that's it, I think. Let's go on to the summary. I loved this book. Yeah, this was one of my favourites. No surprise there. Usually when Nicodemus is involved, I love the book. I think every single one, yeah. He is my favourite villain, definitely. But this was also quite different, right? In that Harry is involved in a heist, working with the bad guys. It just gave us a completely different perspective of the interactions between these characters, which I really loved. So of course, I highly recommend Skin Game. I think people will enjoy it. As for a score, I've thought about this and I've decided I'm going to give this 8 out of 10. Maybe a little tough, but I'm not a very generous scorer anyway. You guys know that already. Let me know what you thought of my score. Let me know what you thought of Skin Game. You know I would love to hear your opinions. And you can put it down in the comments or you can contact me on Instagram. Well, thank you guys very much for hanging out with me. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, you can do the usual. You can like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you all have a beautiful day and I'll see you next time. Bye.